get through that. My buddy from the UK that been friends with for a long time is visiting. So we went out a couple nights ago and I was just talking too much, speaking over like loudspeakers sort of thing. So lost my voice. We're good. If you missed my if you missed my live stream yesterday, we talked about the past weekend, our hits. We talked about the UFC. Kira, what up, buddy? And we got some fights this weekend. In this live stream, we can make it about the card going down in Benghazi, Libya. I mean, if there's action, we're gonna find it. You know what I'm saying? It's probably the slowest week. Definitely the slowest week in mainstream boxing since I can remember. That doesn't matter though. If you guys are hardcore boxing fans, there's some decent fights on the card. My betting app, my biggest challenge is going to be able to find a betting app in Australia to allow me to get action on these fights. There are 3 fights that should be on the cards for us to bet on. I'm going to feature 3 fights. I'm actually editing and uploading my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of the Mirco Cuello versus Sergio Rios fight. This is I don't want to say head scratcher. In terms of matchmaking, it's insane, if you ask me. Sergio Rios has never fought anybody with a winning record. He's undefeated. Mirco Cuello is a guy that the hardcores will recognize. And it seems like he's being, you know how these promotional companies, they'll kind of like invent belts. They'll create matchups and invent interim belts. That's what's happening here. But there's going to be a couple lopsided victories, and if we play our cards right, we're gonna make money 100%. Also, there's a UFC card. I usually wait until Thursday to get into the UFC card, but I'm probably gonna get into that tomorrow. So as everybody's checking in, I want to say welcome to everybody. Let me know where you're coming in. Rambler says it's okay if you got money. Don't go on the Golden Boy card. Don't know what that meant. Havelock, what's up, Havelock? Checking in. History Vault's in the house. Goat's in the house. Guys, as you tap in, just remember, like this video. Just tap in, say what's up, hit the like. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Also, join our Discord group. You become a Johnny Says Boxing Insider on the YouTube channel. It's a couple bucks a month. It supports me. It supports the channel. More importantly, you become part of our VIP community on Discord. And you get access to the professional betting advice there. Muscles is there. TJ from Chilltown is there. All the boys are there. And it's our group. It's our community. It's growing. It's been around for about 2 weeks. We're already close to about 150 members. So get involved. Havelock says the WBA loves making up belts, right? Someone is fighting for WBA gold. Yeah, that's exactly my point, Havelock. And if you guys are in the Discord, I put a write-up about those made-up belts. The link's in the Discord. CG Boxing Bets. What's up, buddy, man? I appreciate the support. I appreciate the tip. The awesome support, man. I can't say enough about how much I value and appreciate it. CG says, shout out, Johnny. Always the content out for the boys. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you supporting me. Julius Armstrong. Cuello last fought, almost lost. Yeah. So Julius and I think Julius, was it you and I commenting on our channel yesterday about that? Julius was saying how Cuello needed a body rip at the end of his last fight, a stoppage to get the win. But, I mean, you got to think about that. He is a huge favorite. He's fighting a guy who's never fought a guy with a winning record. And, make what you will about that last performance, a body shot at the very end, kind of a buzzer beater. We see it all the time in boxing. Fabio Wardley, down on every single card, gets the last second knockout. If you remember Deontay Wilder versus Ortiz, same thing. I don't think Wilder was as down as big as Wardley was, maybe. Needed that backhand at the end. So these things happen. And you could take what you will off of those performances. I'm a optimist. So when I see a guy who's down on the cards who needs a last second late knockout and gets it, I think that's a positive, but that's just me. Boxing fan, what's up, Johnny? And the greatest boxing channel. Boxing fan, you're too kind, man. We're in the building phase, right? Right now we have the true blue hardcores of our channel. supporting every day, tuning into these live streams every day. And it's because of you guys. So I'm happy with it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it and having fun as well. DJ Green in the house. What's good, Jay? What's good, brother? Boxing fan, let's go. Julius, another unheralded Mexican underdog. Yeah. So, Julius, are you leaning on the dog? Let me know. Havelock, Wilder lost it. Yeah. So yeah, you know, in Wilder, we see this in boxing. Goat says Ford versus Autoback was one of the crazier ones. Yes. So we see this in boxing, right? Now, for however, as the betting minds and, you know, the people, if you're on the stream, you're probably in this category who take our hard-earned money and put it on fighters we've never met with the hopes that they win their fights so we can win money, which is insane if you want to really condense it down to its smallest form logically. Take that however you want to take it. I mean, you know, come from behind wins or come from behind wins. What if those aforementioned fighters, Ford, Wilder, Cuello, Wardley, what if they didn't get the punch? They'd have losses on their record. You know what I'm saying? So you got there's two sides to that coin. I like a Hail Mary. I like, you know, a last second 3-pointer to win the game. You know, down by 2 with runners on first and second in the bottom of the 9th, and you get a walk-off. I'm not gonna celebrate that afterwards. I'm not gonna not celebrate that and be like, damn, dude, we almost lost. I can't believe, how am I supposed to celebrate? We hit a walk-off home run and we won, but we almost lost. This is bad. No, that's not how I think. Even if it's going, and it's not going our way and we get that last second knockout, let's go. But I think your point is to err on the side of caution when you're betting on the fighter. I get all that too. I'm just having a friendly debate, brother. Yeah. Julius, I'm not impressed by Cuello. Julius, I'm not impressed either, right? But this is the card that's laid out in front of us. You guys don't have to bet. I break these fights down. I've been breaking these fights down for a long time before I started doing the betting predictions. So even if the betting wasn't a component on my channel, I'd still be breaking the fights down because they're the fights in front of us. And I love boxing. Just to remind you guys. Okay, we got Daniel in the house. We're going to have to add Regis to the bet list. Is the guy. Yeah, Daniel Vega. I can't argue with that. I got to be honest with you. Am I just crazy here? I liked Regis's offense. I liked Regis's mind too. I don't remember Regis looked sharper than I've seen him in a long time. His mind was there. He was a dog. So look, you could say punch resistance all you want. We could listen to the commentators. We could talk about him being chinny. He didn't get dropped. There were no 10-8 rounds. He was putting belt to ass the entire fight, if you ask me. I was kind scoring at 6-4. It could have probably been 7-3. You know, Regis beat that man up. He didn't get dropped. Now, if he would have gotten dropped, it would have changed everything. He got stunned in these rounds, but he was losing those rounds. I thought he looked good. I got to be honest with you. I was shocked with how good Regis looked. But once again, my nature is I'm an optimist. That's just not just because I'm not a Regis fan or because I picked him, but I'm watching the fight and I'm thinking, damn, Regis looks good. His offense looks sharp. His angles look good. His speed, his combos, his willingness to exchange. There were a lot of things I liked with Regis Prograis. I'm not gonna lie. I heard Maloney fight. Yeah, Andrew Maloney's not fighting until next week. Your sports betting apps will probably have that wrong. DJ Green, yeah, GOAT, it's pushed back. There we go, the boys know. Henry Williams, what's up, buddy? How do you like Power Slap? I'm hearing the Power Slap guy Dana White is changing the law, so I don't watch Power Slap, brother. Julius Armstrong says Regis versus Garcia at 147. Yeah, that's a fun matchup. Havelock GOAT, it's true. Keon, he's just as chinny, but he has the heart. Yeah. You know, and I liked what I saw, Keon. Adu in the house, checking in. J-Dog, appreciate you, Adu. Appreciate the support. Yeah, it's a bit of a slow week, but we're going to find our action, boys. And trust in me, I'm going to get you some UFC wins. I'm going to find you guys a lock in the UFC. I'm going to find you guys a lock in this boxing card. And I'm going to find you guys some wins. We're getting our wins. We're getting our dubs. That's going to happen. Goat says, yeah, that fight shouldn't have been close, though. He was fighting with his hand. Yeah, see, I agree, Goat. It was kind of like Regis was trying to prove a point to himself that he could take JoJo's best shot. It almost backfired on him. His offense was great. Thank you. I'm not the only one. Like his arsenal, his sharpness, even in the last few rounds, he was on his toes. But he did look suspicious. CJ Boxing Bets, we got a new member. Welcome to the squad, big dog. Johnny says Boxing Insider VIP. With that membership, he gets more accessibility on our YouTube channel, but more importantly, access to the Discord. CG, I'm gonna send you that link. The link is on our private section on our YouTube channel right now, and I'll double back with you to make sure that link is working for you. If you guys want to join, click the link pinned in this live stream, and you become a VIP. What's up, Keon? Ituama versus White. You know, I'm leaning towards the young buck, the young bull. I'm gonna break that fight down. We're getting close to that fight, so I'm gonna break that down with a lot more logic behind it. But on paper, it's tough to go against the young buck. Keon, damn, can't believe Sims didn't win. I know. And now that I think about it, Keon, I rewatched. By the way, guys, I rewatched Sims versus Dwerte, and I did pick Sims to win on my breakdown. And I initially said I had Sims winning 7-5, but having watched it again, Duerte's pressure was enough, and I think it wasn't just front foot pressure. We see some, and I was kind of harsh on Duerte's performance, but sometimes we see fighters who only fight on the front foot, and they might not have as much volume. They might not have, land as much. Dwerte threw, I think, 200 punches more than Sims. Sims did land with a higher accuracy, but I just think with the pressure Dwerte had combined with the total punch output, it was enough for the victory. And I think Kenny Sims, looking back, there's a lot of lessons learned. This is why you love boxing, man. These guys aren't fighting in the ring to kill each other. These guys are fighting in the ring to problem solve and become better than they were than their last performance. You ask any fighter at the highest level, they're gonna want to put on a performance in which they were better than they were in the last performance. And I think Dwerte gave Sims that fight in which Sims will look back and become better, and Dwerte as well. Sims was teaching Dwerte a lot. It was a good fight. It was a nice little chess match. I like that fight. I got to be honest with you. Heaven sent, Johnny. I love how active you are every card, but I'm so locked in. Yeah, Hamzat DDP, right? We're gonna be talking about that. Heaven sent. Give me till tomorrow. I'm gonna do a live stream dedicated for the UFC. CJ JSB member, my man. Appreciate you. Thanks, mate. Henry Williams, thanks for the shoe 1-6 tip. Just waiting for that cash, brother. Heaven sent. Hamzat versus DDP is the fight. Yep. Victor Vallejo, good. That's nice, dude. Money Meech, Sims box well, but yeah, Money Meech. And, I had to revisit it to come to that conclusion. You can't take that performance away from Dwerte. You know what I mean? In the moment, I was kind of like, being a little bit recency biased because I was watching it with my money on Sims. But we got Kenny at a plus 265. Whenever you take a dog at plus 265 and he doesn't come through, you can't be too salty about it. Ring generalship 100%. I do Aussie fight card. There's an Aussie fight card this week and the following week. I do. So there's a fight card in Brisbane this Saturday with Shannon O'Connell, Shotgun Shannon, and her son. They're making boxing history this weekend in Australia. The very first ever mother-son duo to fight on the same card. We'll see if we can get action on it. If the book allows me, make sure you tap it in because I'll guide you the right way. We know we always eat on these Aussie cards. Money Meech, not mad at my Sims points. But yeah, Meech, how can we be mad? You know what I'm saying? Like, we took the live dog. And he was definitely a live dog. He didn't roll over and die. I feel Kenny fought hard and gave us a chance on the scorecards. Just didn't come through. And I'll bet that night, you give me a guy at the caliber of Kenny Sims every weekend at a plus 265, that guy might not always win, but he'll win 5 out of 10 times, and I'll take that bet. And if you take 5 out of 10 times at plus 265, you're going to come out on top historically. Havelock says Regis versus JoJo was a roller coaster. Oh, dude, 100%. 100% Regis versus JoJo was a roller coaster. Regis gets rocked in the first round. Bro, Regis had me second guessing everything, dude. I got to be honest with you. Then I thought the fight would be stopped. Yep. JoJo has no peripheral vision, and this This is why when that doctor said, "How many fingers am I putting up?" and JoJo, he guessed twice and missed wrong, and the doctor's just like, "Bug it, you could go fight." That was insane. History Vault says Sims gave a good account for himself. It's really Dwerte who didn't fight up. History. The reason why I love my channel and I love my chat is because we could have this isn't a disagreement, History Vault. We could have chats like this where I could ask you to give me an example, and I know you'll always give me an educated example. Because you say that Sims gave a good account. It was Dwerte who didn't fight up. I thought Dwerte fought well. It's just that Sims is a really good fighter. So he's going to be able to take things. What do you think Dwerte could have done differently? Do you think it was an effort thing? Or was it a game plan thing? Was it a skill set thing? I'm interested. Keon Russell put BTA to Dwerte that match. Yeah, I thought he did. Initially, the first time, I was like, man, oh, you're talking, yeah, Gary Russell. Fastest hands, his brother, Gary Russell Jr., in my opinion, fastest hands in boxing, even if he is in his mid-30s. And he was out for a few years. Dwerte seems to be weak in the body. Boxing fan with super chat. I appreciate you, brother. All the super chats, all the supports. Whether you like this video, whether you tip the bartender like Boxing Fan did, whether you join the Johnny Says Boxing Insider group, it all helps. It all goes a long way. Allows me to continue our progress and continue connecting with everybody and spread the word of the sweet science. Henry Williams says JoJo versus Tevin rematch next. Both are shot. Henry, it's interesting. You know, I wouldn't mind JoJo versus Regis again. I got to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind JoJo versus Regis again. Goat says Keyshawn versus Dwerte is a great fight. Keyshawn, what are we getting with Keyshawn, boys? Like, I just watched YSN, the boxing channel out of Philly, with Greg Hackett, and they were talking about Keyshawn. Keyshawn's talking about he's sort of retired, doesn't know where he's going from here. He's at 140. He's second guessing his career. What do we? Any news? You boys got any insider info? I know some of the chat. You guys box. Let me know. Victor Vallejo. Oh shit, a mom and her son fight. Yeah, it's insane, Victor. So keep an eye out. Shannon O'Connell, Shotgun Shannon. I think she might have been a world champion before. At least an Aussie champion, and she's a brawler. If we're getting odds, if I'm allowed to, if my betting apps open that card up, stay tuned. I'm gonna give you some good tips. Keon, Gary Speed will kill. Yeah, Gary, dude, the Russells are so fun to watch. I'm a fan. Money Meach says Oscar De La Hoya wouldn't feed Dwerte to Keisha. Money Meach knows his boxing. So another benefit to the channel is you don't just get winners and losers. You don't just get picks from myself where to put your money. You get like the underlying sort of zeitgeist of the sport. What Money Meach says here is correct. He's talking about Golden Boy's guy, Oscar. He's not going to feed Dwerte to Keyshawn without a belt. Not saying that Oscar wouldn't make that matchup, but there needs to be a belt. Why is the belt relevant? Ask. Heaven sent, Keyshawn may knock his head off. Mark Vasquez, what's up, buddy? Dwerte won, didn't need a change. Yeah, Duarte's pressure, Duarte's fighting spirit. I got to be honest, it did look like there were some rounds where Dwerte was frustrated. I don't know if he was frustrated because he thought that he should have been able to stop Kenny Sims Jr., even though Sims has never been down before, never been stopped, has a couple losses. So, you know, that's where I'm talking about. Dwerte is going to take lessons from this. You don't have to stop everybody. You don't have to drop everybody. It's probably going to be a mental shift or a mental adjustment with Dwerte. Doesn't always have to be physical, guys. Koki says, no point of agreeing or disagreeing on a fight if you only saw it once. I'm a big believer in debates only matter. Both perfect. Koki, I agree, brother. That's why I had to rewatch the fight. Because even though I scored it for Sims, I got to be honest with you, something wasn't sitting right with me. I was like, am I being biased? And then I rewatched, I was like, yeah. Yeah, I actually flipped it. I was like, Dwerte, he did enough. Mark Vasquez says, Dwerte versus Matias is fireworks. How do you argue with that one, boys? Jesus. I agree, Mark Vasquez. There's Dwerte, dude, you got to tip your hat to the kid. Especially how he got stopped against Ryan. Go look at the scorecards against Ryan. He was boxing pretty well. He was boxing pretty well until he got caught. You know that a guy like Dwerte, that has to haunt him. You could tell that has, and look how he came back from the stoppage loss, 4-0 since then, revitalized his career. Dwerte versus Matias is fireworks. I'd rather see that fight than I think they're talking about. You know, they threw Pitbull's name in the mix. Koki says fans be arguing over fights based on 3-minute highlights or watch. Yeah. Yeah, Koki. They also, I think the fans who get really intense about arguing over the fights are the fans of a fighter and not fans of the sport. Fans of the sport generally will have a more educated approach like we do here, hearing both sides, rewatching the fight like you said, coming to a new conclusion. Nobody should ever be married to any idea, I feel, when it comes to like having, you know, there's people in your life that have a firm hold on their belief systems. Now, I'm not talking spirituality, faith-based religions. I'm talking like my favorite fighter is X. He beats everyone because of X. He'll never lose, and even if he does lose, it's because he got robbed. That sort of thing. You shouldn't be married to ideas like that as a true boxing fan. So Johnny, Victor, the guy behind me, my buddy flew in from London. So in 2013, I moved to Sydney, Australia. And the first friend I met in 2013, his name's Kieran. He lives in the UK now. He's traveling the world, so he's staying in my spare room. Or it's a ghost. I might have a ghost. If a ghost, that actually excites me. Kieran's not that fun. Nah, I'm kidding. Fun fighter to watch. Goat says haven't said it's Keon, I agree with you. Mike Ross says, do you want a super fun technical boxer? Pat McCormick is fighting in September. He still hasn't lost a round as a pro. I'll put an asterisk by his name, Mike. Appreciate the shout out. Appreciate the heads up. Fanboys are my least favorite thing in boxing. Go 100%. And it's like we appreciate all the fans, but it's sort of, you know what the worst thing for boxing is though? Are large boxing channels, so like YouTube content creators who are fanboys, who then create these large echo chambers. So a channel that has 300,000 subscribers who we know only likes 1 or 2 fighters and talks trash about everyone that they fight, and then they get this following for creating clickbait content, and then everybody who follows them continues this sort of narrative, this rhetoric of shit talk, basically. So I blame it on the content creators, believe it or not. Because as a kid growing up in the sport before social media, we didn't have fanboys. Even, you know what I'm saying? Even like, I grew up in a boxing town, Youngstown, Ohio. I was going to box. Like I said, I saw Ray Boom Boom Mancini fight when I was 6, 1988. You know, we would go see him fight. And I remember my dad, you know, breaking down Mancini's performance. There were no such thing as fanboys. We were Mancini fans, but if he had a bad performance, you know, it was a healthy thing to talk about around the dinner table, you know, what could have been, you know, what he did wrong, what could have been done differently, that sort of thing. But now it seems like online, there's fanboys who they could do no wrong. You see it with politics as well. It becomes an echo chamber, very tribal sort of thing. So the chat's popping. I'm trying to get to all you boys, all your comments, so just be patient with me. Jazz, I hope Progress team doesn't take a Matias fight. He should retire, but if he doesn't take JoJo. Guys, I think, though, I don't want to see Progress fight a big puncher. I think, you know who I think came out on top the biggest? This is going to sound controversial. I feel George Kambosos Jr. came out on top the biggest because of JoJo and Regis, and that sounds insane. Because of JoJo and Regis, I feel now a guy like George, all 3 are former champions, a guy like George now, you could position him against one of those guys, and we would tune in. We don't want to see George against, you know, a world champion right now. We want to see George against another guy who's quote unquote seen his better days and see what those two would look like. It's just, it's that age-old second tier of boxing, former champions who haven't come to terms that their prime is behind them. And they think, dude, Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward weren't necessarily in their primes when they fought. Gotti and Ward both had a handful of losses. I think that was a 10-rounder, the first one, in like a bowling hall in Massachusetts. That first one, something along those lines. Someone fact check me. My point is, what did the first Gotti Ward give us? One of the all-time most classic fights, and then it gave us a trilogy. So my point is, true blue boxing fans, we don't need world titles all the time. We need good matchups. And I think George Kambosos Jr. now versus either Regis or JoJo would be an interesting fight. Henry Williams Booman was a Youngstown hero. Rest in peace, Dooku Kim. Right on. He was a Youngstown hero. Henry, do you remember what Dooku Kim said when he was, coming to the States to fight Mancini, to fight Ray in Vegas? He said, I'm either coming back home a world champion or I'm coming home in a body bag. Think about how prophetic those words were. Insane. What a sport. What an amazing sport. History Vault says, Jazz, wow, you're right. Insane. Mac is by far the favorite here. What did I miss? It's been calling out. Boom, boom. Makhmudov versus Dave Allen. Ah, that's an insane fight. Dave Allen. Para is super tough. Should be a good one. So, guys, we're approaching 30 minutes on this live. I'm going to stay on as long as you boys are. We're floating between 40 and 50 people on the live stream. Those numbers will steadily increase. Only 15 of you boys like this video. Like I always say, that's depressing. Just like the video, hit the thumbs up. It helps the video. And we'll continue this educated boxing chat as long as we want to do it. Mark Vasquez. So Mike Ross. I'm not getting any of these odds right now. Makhmudov, you're talking about Makhmudov versus Dave Allen, right? And if you guys follow Dave Allen on Instagram, go to Dave Allen's Instagram, the white rhino, and look at the photo he put up. Look at the video he put up of him shadow boxing in his backyard in the UK. And look at the comment. The people are like cooking him in the comments because he has a belly. Like Dave Allen has kind of like, he has that archetypal local bar bully belly. The guy that you went to high school with who never left your hometown. You go back a couple times a year and he's still there. He was a good athlete when he was in high school, but now he has that belly. Dave Allen has that belly, and people were clowning him for it, and he was defending it. He was talking about he just got his medicals done, and his bone density tested, and his heart tested, and he was actually defending it. Yeah, that beer, he could crack though. That beer belly, I've missed on both of his last two fights. I went the other way on, and so I still don't have a good read on Dave Allen. Yeah, he got those good hands, and my man could crack. You know, my favorite thing about Dave Allen is like the psycho. He's smart in there. That little trap he set in his last fight, kind of not quite playing possum, but kinda leading on, and then boom, cracking. I think this is Makhmudov's last chance. Aris Lonabach is a caveman. He looks like him. Yeah, they were talking about putting Dave Allen in there against Deontay Wilder. Tank Abbott probably had the best belly in fighting history next to Andy Ruiz. I mean, you can't forget about Butterbean, though. The king of the 4-rounder. People have kind of like the history. It's weird how we have this sort of revisionist history in sports, but Butterbean could box, mate. Like he had boxing skills. They called him the king of the 4-rounder. He had hands. He could feint. Like he wasn't just a sideshow. Was my point. And he could crack, dude. No bullshit. Butterbean did some things pretty decent in there. I got to be honest with you. Well, Tank Abbott was an MMA fighter. Tank Abbott was a cage fighter. Tank Abbott is an old street fighter from Huntington Beach. So Tank Abbott is an OG in the MMA space who started off as a bare knuckle street fighter. He was a monster. He was a maniac in there. Yeah, Bosh. Johnny Fisher. Yeah, people are tough on Fisher. Fisher's only been fighting, I think, for a few years. It's just that, you know, Fisher seems like his social media, everything you see in Johnny Fisher, how do you hate that guy? He seems like such a cool, down to earth guy. Got into boxing late. His dad is a character, and that's why you got to love the Brits. I love the British boxing scene, man. There's always guys like that popping through. I mean, think about Fabio Wardley. This guy was a white collar boxer. He was working as a recruiter in London in the finance district, and in his early 20s, he took a you know, the big financial companies will do these like boxing events for charity. It's called white collar boxing. And he did one of those and did 4 of them and won all 4. And then I think he started sparring with, I think it might have been AJ, and then the rest is history. So, you know, I don't judge a guy who gives a crack, who gets into boxing late, gives it a crack, and all of a sudden he's a mainstream name, whether it's because he won or because he got knocked out. I don't judge a guy on that. I don't judge a guy on outcomes. I judge a guy on effort, always in boxing. And for a boy to become a man, to then become a professional boxer, to then become a main event boxer, I never judge a guy on the outcome. It's always the effort. I wish a prime Butterbean time traveled to 2025. Hey, mate, he could still crack. He's training right now. Go to Butterbean's Instagram. Marketing off one-dimensional cake. Butterbean made a lot of money, popular without the use of social media. Yeah, dude, Butterbean was a cultural sort of like firecracker. Henry Williams says, who do I got, Ball or Goodman? I got to be honest with you, man. It's a hot take. I like Sam Goodman. I do. The fight's coming up. I'm going to do a breakdown analysis. I'll give you my logical reasoning on it. Goodman's, I think, a 4-1 dog as we speak. Stylistically, I got to be honest with you, I really like this matchup for Sam Goodman. I think he's going to impress a lot of people. People outside of Australia aren't really aware of how good of a boxer he is, how mean he is. Like, that matters. You know, saying a guy fights mean doesn't mean he's knocking everybody out. Sam Goodman is going to be in Ball's face the entire time. I can't wait for the presser. I can't wait for the face-off, the showdown. Not like everybody in boxing has chat. Sam Goodman's going to talk. Like, it's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be closer than I think a lot of people think. You do got to take in consideration the A side versus B side. You do got to take in consideration who has the belt. I though, if I were you, I wouldn't take into consideration 122 to 126 because 4 pounds in those divisions really don't matter. It's not a big jump, 22 to 26. Also, don't get honey-dicked by judging Goodman on his knockout to win ratio. Like that's not something you should be doing. Just because a guy doesn't have a high knockout to win ratio doesn't mean he can't beat a world champion and become a world champion. They paired him up with Inoue twice for a reason, and this is going to be a hot take. A lot of you guys think that he was going to get washed against Inoue. I'm not one of those guys. I really want to see Goodman versus Inoue. I think that is a close fight as well. So just stay tuned. I'm going to do my breakdown. Henry Williams says Nick Ball is home A-side advantage, but Goodman going to bring that New South Wales. He is. Yeah, Nick, you know, Sam Goodman, the the Mad Bunch. I always have to bring it up. He has a traveling cheering section. Victor says, got a feeling Nick Ball might win. Very close decision, I think, John. He could be. I mean, he's going to be the favorite. I mean, Nick Ball fans are going to tell you he's probably going to stop Goodman. And Goodman fans are probably going to tell you Goodman's going to win a decision. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle. I always tell my friends who get really political, it's the case with politics. It's the case with boxing. You take boxing fandom, you take casuals with a fight, and one will go this way, one will go this way. You always got to think about the middle. Pedro Cabrales, what's up, buddy? Thoughts on potential Thurman versus Ortiz fight? I mean, when I initially read that out loud, my initial, and to be one of the things about myself, I value my authenticity. So my initial instinct, what are my thoughts on a potential Thurman versus Virgil? I initially think, wow, that is a tough fight for Keith Thurman. Why would he take that fight? That's a brutal fight. And then I start thinking about it. I start sitting with it, and I'm like, Keith Thurman is that dude. People sleep on Thurman, man. Look what Thurman's done in his career. He is an unorthodox fighter. He's athletic. Granted, he's in his mid-30s. He's not the youngest. You know, we last saw him in Australia against Brock Jarvis. Some of you wild boys were picking Brock to win. We won a lot of money. We got Thurman by stoppage, rounds 1 through 4. I hit big on that fight. Thurman, look at his career, dude. Hasn't been as active as we want him to be. Doesn't always get the fights he wants. I got to be honest with you, man. I'd have to sit with that one. To say that he would just get washed by Virgil, you got to slow your roll on that. I'm a big Virgil Ortiz fan, by the way. I got to tell you that. You guys, if you follow my channel, you'll know that. I'm a Virgil fan. So Victor says, who can beat Usyk since he beat all the heavy and cruiserweights? Sorry, Johnny. It's all good, Victor. You're good, brother. Victor, I got Sam Goodman on box. Okay, so the chat's pretty 50-50 on Goodman versus Ball. Yeah, Mark Schliebs. True. I was at Goodman's fight, his last fight against Cesar Vaca. I was at his fight against TJ Doheny. I was at the Reese Aleem fight. He's a smooth operator in there. With Goodman, you know what you're going to get. You know, a guy who's going to use the entire ring. He's going to use feints. He's going to score points. He's going to try to win rounds. The thing I don't like about Ball, his style in that matchup, is if Ball is going to get out of position and on his front foot the entire time and give both shoulders instead of the bladed approach to Sam Goodman, Sam Goodman's going to out-angle him all day long and counter him. That's all I'm going to say. We'll see. Am I taking Jerome Pampaloni for the upset? I don't know, Rambler. I know. I don't know. Are you referencing that because he's born in New Zealand? 60-40. Yeah, Vasquez. I think that's fair, Mark. 60-40 Virgil. I think that's fair. I think it's given both guys their due diligence. It'd be, you know, if that goes official, that's one of those fight breakdowns that I'm going to have fun doing. You know, I break down a lot of fights. Obviously, I don't have fun doing all the breakdowns. Some of them it's hard to get up for. Virgil versus Thurman would be a fun breakdown for me. You have no faith in weak body Keith. Weak body Keith. Interesting take. Yep, Iatama White. Hi, interest. Checking in. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate the support on the channel. Guys, wherever you are, like this video. Become part of our Johnny Says Boxing Insider group. You get access to the Discord. All the boys here with the blue stars, they're in the Discord group. They're getting our parlays, our props, upsets of the week. It's a community that's growing. It's a couple bucks a month. Click that link. It's pinned in the comments below. Goat says, if you think Goodman wins, bet the distance. Yeah, 100%. Goat, you know what I'm interested in over the next week and a half is if those odds are going to get wider or closer. I was talking to TJ a couple weeks ago about that, with where his stance was thinking about those odds, because initially I was saying that they're probably gonna get wider, but now that I'm talking to everybody, they might get closer. So maybe it's worth, if you like Goodman to beat Ball. The only issue with that, Goat, is that the odds are already good right now. Like, I don't like getting greedy on outcomes if I'm taking the dog. If I'm already getting plus money on the dog, I'm not gonna get greedy and pick an outcome. You know what I'm saying? Because you're rolling the dice. There's risk. There's risk of anything can happen in boxing. So that's always my advice. If you're already getting plus good money on an underdog and you're sold on the fact that they're gonna win, your job's easy. You don't have to pick the stoppage or the decision. I mean, statistically speaking, how Sam goes about his business, how he operates, that would be the case. But I mean, who knows? What if he, you know, you'd be salty if he stopped Ball, you know what I mean? And you lose your bet. Julius Armstrong is saying they said Frank Martin versus Arn Barbosa. I think Barbosa outboxes Frank Martin, man. I do. I like ABJ. I think and Frank Martin's fun. He's a fun guy. He's a good athlete. I don't think there's much those adjustments that we got, those flaws in his game that we got to see against Tank, you know, biting on feints sort of thing. That takes a lifelong in boxing to kind of fix. Barbosa Jr. has been boxing his entire, you know, has a long veteran. Yeah, I would take Barbosa against Frank Martin. I would. I think it's possible Ball versus Ford was a war that took something out of Ball. I don't think Ball looked good against TJ either. And I think TJ's a former world champion. I think, is TJ a 2-division world champion? TJ had his moments against Inoue. TJ's a tough out for people. I could see them flipping. Yeah, it is next week. Somebody just brought up Haney in the chat. We're 42 minutes in. Do you guys think that we're gonna see Haney versus Norman Jr.? I know they're saying it's official. It's in November. Do you think that somebody's gonna pull out? This is why I don't break down fights in the future. I don't even generally like talking about fights that aren't official, that are so far in the future. Like, I keep thinking, I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe that fight won't go down. Yeah, that's why I don't want to get my hopes up. November seems like it's years away. Not that far, but it's far enough. And they're already trying to do media, and they're trying to play these like back and forth games. Haney is. I don't know. We'll see if that goes down. And next month we got Crawford, Canelo. I'm still kind of torn. Like, yeah, fresh. Same. Yeah, I don't think Haney has fought. I mean, he is, you know, he's over 25 now. What's Haney? 26, 27. Brian Norman's 24. It'll be his first world champion who's younger. It's being rumored Picasso's back in play for Inoue next fight. See, this is the thing. Weren't we sold once Inoue beat Cardenas? Didn't they tell us he'd fight MJ in September or October, which is happening, and then Junto in January of 2026? Because it's like Inoue's already, what, 31, 32, maybe going on 33. I want to see Junto Nakatani and Inoue. And that's what Junto wants. You know, Inoue stays at 22. Junto goes up to 22. Think about I'd rather see that, but Picasso's a nice little fighter. Yeah, heaven sent, we're in the calm before the storm right now. 100%, dude. 100%. That's why we do. What a great sport. You know what I mean? This sport's been around for over a century. Pedro asks, Johnny, are you high on Ituama? I always side on the air of caution and give credence to the sport of boxing itself before I jump on a hype train of a younger fighter. I don't think it's fair for the younger fighters to kind of like think about, like, I think the hype is kind of fizzled out a bit, not because of good reason. Like, I think a year ago, people were so high on Carmel Moten. I was like, he's still a teenager. Joseph Brown, another teenager coming out of the BC. A lot of people are hype on. Abdullah's only 21. Moses is a young guy. I want, you know, am I high on him? Does he have potential? Oh, yeah. Is there a lot of things to like about him? Oh, yeah. Am I calling him the next Muhammad Ali, the next Mike Tyson, you know, fill in the blank, whoever, a marauding just force on the scene, I'm going to wait a little bit. Crawford versus Canelo is going to be like Dwerte Sims Jr. I saw one of the analysts, that narrative is being spun around on Instagram by somebody that I don't follow. Yeah, I don't quite agree with that. I don't agree with that actually. Somebody sent me that it's going to be just like Dwerte Sims Jr. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I maybe how? So you're saying the stylistic matchup is similar? I think both guys do a lot of different things than Dwerte and Sims Jr. You know what I mean? I think there's multiple variables on each side on offense and defense than Dwerte versus Sims. What's up, Follow Mike TV? I don't think Haney will actually fight. Why do we... I'm glad I asked that. I don't know why I feel like it doesn't feel... The rhetoric coming out of both sides, especially, and it's not just Haney's side. The rhetoric coming out of BNJ's camp, too, it doesn't feel like it's a legit fight to me. Like, it doesn't feel like it's in stone. So, Pedro, Junto versus... So, is that legit? I mean, it may just... It seems like that's a year away. A lot could happen. But that's the fight I want to see. I think we all want to see. But then you have the people... Bam has just been destroying everybody at 15. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Bam and Junto fight at 18 first, and then the winner fights Inoue at 22? I think Bam's a bit small, but I mean, god damn, think about the guys we have the guys at the top of the hill at 15, 18, and 22. And then you throw in Rafa at 26. God damn, dude. This is why it's insane to me that, like, a lot of the huge channels in America, the content creators, only cover, like, 4 fighters, and they're all kind of, like, junior middleweights. You know what I mean? They'll either cover, like, welterweights or junior middleweights, and obviously some lightweights. But you put Bam, you do a tournament, who would you take in a loser go home? You pick a catch weight. You got Bam, Junto, Inoue, and Rafa Espinoza. Jesus, that would be insane. Those are literally 4 of my favorite fighters right now. History says I would rather see Inoue versus Bam than Junto versus Bam. Junto is too massive. Junto's taller. Yeah, he's a big boy. Yeah. But then again, because he's so massive, and isn't it interesting how, like, in my opinion at least, the adoration for these guys because of their fight style. You mix in the fact, like, all the guys. I mean, granted, Inoue, he doesn't speak English, not his first language. Junto speaks a little bit more English based off of him training for years in America. Bam is obviously American, but fans love them. You know what I mean? They're beloved by fight fans because of their fight style. So I think there's an argument you'd rather see Bam versus Inoue instead of Junto versus Bam because the size, I don't know. I'd like to see Bam try to work Junto's body and fight because they'd both be fighting. Junto would get sort of lulled into a dogfight in the phone booth. Mate, dude, come on. That'd be insane to see. Or Junto versus Rafa. If that's the case, we then would go Bam versus Inoue, Nakatani versus Espinoza. God damn. I know the weight classes are a bit, but 122 to 126 isn't a big jump. Goat says, I'm at 26, definitely Inoue or Rafa. Pedro. I want to get to Julius real quick. Julius says, what makes y'all think Crawford got a chance? I'm seriously perplexed. Canelo has knocked out light heavyweights. I think Julius, the people who think Crawford has a chance, they're going to disregard, and I'm not saying this is right. I mean, they're going to disregard the weight class jump, right? They're going to say, 41-0. They're going to say 4-division world champion. He's won titles at 35, 40, 47, and 54. They're going to say 2-time undisputed champion, first male fighter to ever do that. They're going to say, you know, if you go off of that, that's kind of your answer. You know what I'm saying? But logically, you're right. Logically, you got to break it down. This is a jump. And I don't like I thought he looked good against Madrimov. I got to be honest with you. I thought he fought a perfect fight against Madrimov. I had him winning 8-4. Madrimov is a nightmare style, mate. That bouncy style, switching stances, super athletic. Madrimov, you know, hundreds and hundreds of amateur fights, was a world champion at 54. Nightmare style to fight. He stylistically, Crawford's fought guys like Canelo before. You don't fight many guys like Madrimov. You just don't see that style. Wasn't Canelo's last knockout plant December 2022, I think? Or November 2022, if I'm not mistaken? History of all Espinosa versus Junto. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, styles make fights. Boxing fan, Crawford blew that stop sign. Let's see the results. Yeah, history of all. Crawford has a style to win, but doesn't have the... You don't think he has the defense to win? Wow. I like Crawford's defense. I like how he uses I like Crawford's high guard defensively. I don't know, man. I actually like Crawford's defense because he uses his defense to set his offense up. Crawford's a tricky opponent, man. We're looking at 2 future Hall of Famers. Dude, the mindset of Bud. He's gonna fight. The caution is definitely gonna be where Bud chooses to fight Canelo at. The decision making on, you know, what he chooses to do. Will he punch with him? Will he fight him at range? Fight him in the pocket? How often will Bud? Because when Bud came out against EJ, you know, Bud came out as a southpaw and fought him pretty much as a southpaw. And we know Bud switch hits. A lot has been said, you know, about, you know, when he was an amateur and I think he broke his hand and had to fight the one, you know, had to learn how to fight southpaw. I think it would be unwise to use Canelo's performance against Skull against him. I think that was more of an abomination. I think that everybody in both camps knew that Canelo Bud was going to happen next. I think Canelo went into the Skull fight wanting to take as limited physical damage as possible and do as little as possible just to win. So I wouldn't use that performance. I think we're gonna see a very, 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 very intense, motivated Canelo. That's all I'm gonna say. I think if you're a Canelo fan, I think you would pick Canelo to stop Bud. If you're a Canelo fan, that's not my prediction. I think we should all expect a very, very, very motivated version of Canelo. This, on paper, people are gonna say it's a cash grab. These guys, do you know how proudful Canelo is? Do you know how proudful Bud Crawford is? These guys care about legacy. Guys like Tank Davis, he doesn't care about legacy. He told you that. He told us that. That's why it's hard for me to get. I'm not a fan. Like, the reason why that matters is that you would never. I think we're in for a treat. History, what's the draw pan? It's interesting. History has 7 kids plus 1 on the way. That's insane. We're out here talking about their tax forms now. I think he has 6 kids and he just had a 7th. Either way, I thought that's what I heard in the interview. Sir to Matt Posturpedic. I mean, Canelo has what, 4? These boys are fertile. These guys are savages. You know, what's that famous quote? There's two things that men have always done since the dawn of time, and we will always do upon extinction: fighting and fucking. High interest. I feel like if Crawford get Canelo timing down, it's going to be a long night for Canelo. Canelo in 5. Seeing Bud get stopped in 5 would be insane to me. I think if Canelo stops Bud, it's going to be late. And I think that it could be a case of sort of a lot of punishment. I don't even know if I see that happening, though. If that does happen, I could see Bomac throwing the towel in late. Being stopped in 5 is crazy. Would have to be just a masterful performance. Catching Bud early, hurting him early, Canelo getting on the attack, Bud not having it in him to give Canelo any receipts. Because that fit, unless, you know what I'm saying? Because if he doesn't stop him, if he doesn't catch him and clip him early when he's cold, seeing a 5th round stoppage is harder for me to see than a late round stoppage. History Vault, we really don't know if Turkey, Canelo, and Crawford want a rematch. It doesn't feel like a rematch type fight, does it? Do you guys feel like, for me personally, it seems like a one and done. I wouldn't be surprised if Bud retires after this fight. It doesn't seem like a rematch. It doesn't have that feel to me. B Money, what's up, buddy? Canelo in 5. Yeah. He said it, right? And logically, B Money, I'm trying to, what we do is we try to see the outcome of how that would work. I think the chances of that work. Now, granted, I mean, same conversation. Nobody saw Floyd stopping Tevin that quickly, but Floyd hurt Tevin early, and Tevin wouldn't. He never recovered. So he just jumped on him and didn't give him an opportunity. That was young energy. You know what I mean? That angle he threw that hook off of was so nice, Schofield. And I picked Tevin. So I don't see Canelo. It's tough for me to see that happening to Bud, and it's tough for me to see because how does Canelo do his work? You know what I mean? He does his work, not out angling you. He does his work sort of fighting your ego. Betting on a draw. Boys, check the draw. Okay, we already got history on the case. Why not? I mean, what have we learned over the last month in boxing? Sprinkle the draw, boys. Gucci Flores versus Jorge Chavez, draw. Pacquiao Barrios, draw. We saw what just happened in Japan, draw. And there could have been a draw in play on either one of those Regis versus JoJo, or even Sims Dwerte. I mean, what I'm saying is, what have we learned? The draw is definitely in play. Throw $100 on the draw, you get $1,500 in return. Why not, dude? And then if it is a draw, the boys get to share their bet slips in our Discord, and we all call you a genius. You know what I'm saying? So let's do it. Once again, History Vault, for me personally, Crawford has such good value on the money line that I always will take the dog on the money line and not get sexy with the outcome, because let's say you go heavy on the decision when you're already getting good value on the money line, and Bud stops him, and you're gonna be in like this place of not cheering. You're gonna be salty. Like, it just depends on how greedy you want to get, I guess. High interest brings up very good point, man. Canelo does not have the speed or footwork to make it hard for Crawford, but high interest, the pushback is going to be Crawford has never fought at 168 before. He's never carried this weight into a fight. He will be slower. He's never been punched by a guy like Canelo before. His punch resistance will be different. So what I'm saying, high interest, for every absolute idea that we could pin on an outcome or a performance, we always then have to think about the contrarian side to that. And then from there, we can make our assumption. Because at the end of the day, boys, these are assumptions. Until it happens, until we get to say we're either right or wrong, these are all assumptions based on, at least on my channel, film study, research, logical reasoning, and experience in the game. Yeah, Canelo has a history of highlight reel knockouts against smaller guys too. Obviously, Amir Khan, my favorite, Billy Joe. All right, boys, I got to get to work. I got one more question I'm going to answer. We're an hour into this. I got to upload Mirco Cuello versus Sergio Rios. It's a fight this weekend in Africa. If you haven't already liked this video, make sure you subscribe. Click the pinned comment, become a Johnny Says Boxing Insider, and get access to our community on Discord. You'll get all of our picks. You'll get our upsets of the week. More importantly, you become part of our community. Ranver Litter, what's up? He says, Johnny, my boy, what's up? I have a question for you. Is it just my bookie or yours too? I don't see any boxing fights this weekend. Is boxing on a break? Ranvar, great question to end the show on. The books haven't given us our options yet, but there are fights. There's multiple cards. The biggest one is going down in Libya, Africa. Mirco Cuello versus Sergio Rios is on that card. There's a couple other. There's 3 fights on that card with guys who are ranked in the top 20 in different divisions. There's a top 20 cruiser, a top 20 light heavyweight, and I think a top 20 feather. So there are some decent matchups. The question will then be, will we get options to bet on? The minute I get that news, I'm going to relay it to you. Stay tuned to the channel.